the Stickney Water Reclamation Plant. This is the largest wastewater treatment plant in the world. We treat on average about 700 million gallons a day. At peak capacity, we can pump 1.44 billion gallons in a day. And how we do that, to start off with, are these main sewage pumps. The pumps are raising the wastewater around 55 feet up into the first process. First process being the aerated grit tanks. That's these long tanks headed west here. Purpose of the aerated grit tanks is to get the grits out, sandstone, rocks, and so forth. Get it out. Those are abrasive. You don't want those in the pumps, pipes, elbows, and so forth. They do it by stirring the water up. You can see how it's stirring. One side of the tank has air and it's stirring, making a nice cyclical motion. Keeps everything stirred up, but the grit will settle to the bottom. Then we'll get that out to a landfill. Once it's been degritted, we're going to head off to these tanks out in the distance. There's 20 of them. They're called primary settling tanks. Just a big 15 feet deep tank. The wastewater goes in for about an hour and 2 hours. Physical process again. Gravity is going to make that settle out, and fats, oils, and greases will rise to the top. So there's boards, like a Caterpillar track. The boards will pull the fats, oils, and greases, or scum we call it. The boards will go down to the bottom and then pull the sludge to a pit. That pit, the sludge will be collected and then sent off to another process for the solids processing. Once it's gone through these primary settling tanks, we have the secondary system.
Okay, that's over here?
That's over here. So those long tanks in the distance, those are aeration tanks. So what didn't want to settle in these primary settling tanks are, it would settle if we let it sit there for a week, but we're in a hybrid process. We want to do the job in about 12 hours. So what wasn't settleable, we put it in this aeration tank where there's bacteria, and the bacteria is eating this. It's food. I provide oxygen to stir the tanks, as well as provide air for the bacteria to respirate and eat the food. When it eats, it kind of gets heavy and wants to settle. So now it's in its settleable state, wants to settle out. These round tanks here,
sure.
These are final settling tanks. A round tank, 126 feet in diameter, about 15 feet deep. Wastewater comes up through the center, from the aeration tank, the solids from the aeration tank comes up through the center, settles out, clean water comes to the top, goes over those weirs. You can see in those tanks, there's circular troughs. That's clean. That's 99.9% clarified, cleaned. It's going to the canal. So in between 8 to maybe 12, 14 hours, I've cleaned it from a medium gray to pretty clear, almost drinkable water.
Well, and this process goes on all day long?
Every day, 365 days. We have little diurnal flows. Midnight, 3 a.m. we'll have less flow, and more in the morning when people have taken their showers and so forth. But yes, it's 24/7.
Great. So this kind of gives us the overview of the whole complex here as well.
Yeah, what you're looking at there is half of the plant. As batteries C and D, I also have another batteries A and B. So this is a good view of how my liquid stream process works. The solids, the sludge from the bottom of these tanks then goes to another complex, or digesters, kind of like your stomach. It digests the food.